it looks like we do.
Okay, can you give a roll call who's online right now?
I have Jonathan Byrd. I have Brittany, Josh O'Neill, Danielle Weaver, Commissioner Klein, Vice President Baker, Commissioner Meinl-Schmidt, Commissioner Wagner, Kirk Downey, and it looks like, I guess this is Commissioner Kiefer.
Okay, all right.
Commissioner
This is
Kiefer,
Wayne. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. If everybody could keep their phone on mute, but you hit *6 to unmute when you wish to speak. And if you can, please identify yourself when you do speak, so it makes it easier to transcribe the minutes later. Good morning, everyone. We'll begin our meeting. I'd like to call our meeting December 15th to order. Approval of our minutes.
Commissioner
December
Kiefer, hold on. Commissioner Kiefer, can you hold, or I'm sorry, Klein, hold off when starting the minutes, the meeting. I am working with Danielle on something.
Okay, we'll hold, please.
Thank you.
81 to 70.
Make sure your phones are on mute so we don't hear any side conversations. Thank you.
Josh O'Neill, if you're on here, can you go into the back end and make Danielle a host?
Hold on just a second. She already is. Did you hear me, Krista? She already is.
Josh, she's a co-host. She needs to be a host.
There. Somebody just passed host control to her.
Josh, can you create me as a co-host?
I can, but I think you'll have to disconnect and reconnect for that to work.
Tell me when.
A second. apparently not while the meeting is in progress. No, I can't.
That's fine. President Klein, you can proceed. I apologize.
Okay. 1 second, we'll begin. All right, good morning, everyone. Please forgive the difficulties. I'd like to call our meeting today, December 15th, to order. Commissioners, to unmute yourself to speak, be sure to press *6 to unmute. We'll begin with the approval of the minutes. Are there any questions, comments, or is there a motion and a second to approve?
Make the motion to approve the minutes of December 8th. This is Court Schmidt.
Thank you, Court. Is there a second?
Second, Randy.
Thank you. Commissioners, have a first and a second to approve the minutes of December 8th. Is there any more conversation, discussion? If not, I'll call for all those in favor to say aye by name. Aye. Jeff?
Aye, Court Schmidt.
Hi, Randy.
Hey, Wayne and Terry?
This is Terry. Somehow it booted me off. I had to reboot.
Okay, we're approving the minutes for for December 8th. I have 3 votes for. I need you and Wayne to approve or not approve for the minutes of December 8th.
That was
Can you
last
hear me
week.
now? This is Wayne.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
approved.
Okay, Wayne.
Wayne approved. Yeah.
All right, thank you. 5-0. Thank
I,
you.
I also received a text message. They're trying to watch our meeting and they can't get on. They didn't know if we were live or not.
I think it just went live a minute ago, so that link should be established.
Okay.
Is that correct? Krista, Josh, and Neil, are you listening? Is our link available for the public and the media?
This is Josh.
That's
We're
correct.
currently
We are live.
We are live. And, okay, thank you. We'll continue with the meeting. Next will be commissioners' reports and comments. Commissioner Baker, do you have any reports, comments today?
Yes, I know we're getting into the holiday season and Christmas, New Year's. I would like to thank all of our county employees for such a wonderful job that they've done helping guide us all and get our counties through this pandemic. I'd also like to thank our local health department, our EOC team. They've just done an awesome job. And I just want to wish them all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And hopefully the first of the year, we'll start getting all of this behind us. The other thing is I'd like for Planning Commission, if possible, to provide a map. I have had a couple of calls on the warehouse that's going to be constructed out there off of Hopewell Road. And they were asking me questions about the road network, the ingress, egress, and possible parking. I didn't know if there was any way that the planning could just provide us a map of what the ingress and egress will possibly look like and some parking and so forth. So that way all I'd have to do is just forward that map to anybody that would call me and ask me some questions about the traffic. So if that would be possible, I'd appreciate getting a copy of that.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, Terry. Commissioner Kiefer, reports, comments?
Hello, this is Wayne. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I have several things here, so please just bear with me. As Terry mentioned, just thank you to all of our staff and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. 2020 has been a tough year for everyone, and our staff did, I think, as fine of a job as could be done. A lot of our staff members continue to work either in the office or on location in the field. You name it: solid waste, water, sewer, emergency services, patrol, detention. And thank you for taking that extra risk of, being out in the public when the governor and other people were urging people to stay at home as much as possible to avoid the COVID. So thanks for that risk. Thanks to everyone who responded to my questions, whether they worked from home or in the field. I don't think anyone skipped a beat with responding to me or citizens' questions that I had asked on their behalf. So thanks for that. It was a difficult year, but Merry Christmas. I hope everyone can enjoy some time with their family this year as we come to a close. I also wanted to mention here a thank you to our teachers at the Board of Ed as well. I had, on an emergency basis yesterday, I watched 2 of my elementary aged nephews, and they came to my house and they logged onto their online schooling and did it in my presence. And I got to see that interaction for the first time. And yeah, I'd start out by saying, I don't think any teacher prefers to teach through Zoom. When I teach at the college level, I prefer an in-person class over an online class as well. There were some students that struggled and the teachers did their best to help the student, but 2 things I noticed the teachers did. Each teacher for both my nephew's classes, I wanted to comment on. One was the Pledge of Allegiance was still recited. So even though they weren't in a classroom, the teachers had my nephews say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I thought that was great to see that still. And both teachers made a concerted effort at the beginning of class to ask how every student was doing. The teacher called them by name, asked them how their weekend was. And I think at this time when students can't go into the classroom, that's a good opportunity for the teachers just to check on the students. And that was impressive to see. I didn't know that would have happened. And I was glad to see that, making that connection with each student. So well done to those teachers and all the teachers I know who are doing that as well. I'd like to see if we could rate 2 letters of support on 2 different topics. One is, I know we saw that our neighbors in Allegheny and Garrett County would not be receiving the first round of the coronavirus vaccine. And I know a lot of people felt a lot of emotions when we heard that. And my first emotion was heartbreak for those people that live in Allegheny and Garrett County, the frontline workers there. I think it impacts us as well as a region in Western Maryland if we were to have holes in our community that don't have access to the vaccine. I've spoken with Delegate McKay, Commissioner Jake Shade of Allegheny County, and also Commissioner Jeff Klein. And they seem to think that it might be helpful for us if we were to write a letter of support that Allegheny and Garrett counties receive a quantity of vaccine on the same timeline and schedule as all other Maryland counties. And there may be some other Maryland counties on the Eastern Shore in the same predicament. But, just to be clear, just a friendly letter out of concern for our Western Maryland neighbors, both in community and commerce. So first, I'd like to see if there would be support for us to draft a letter to that effect.
Wayne, I would give support to that letter. Just for some clarification, there's 2 vaccines being distributed, and I think the most difficult one is coming from Pfizer, which needs excessive or extra refrigeration or freezing. And I think that might have been one of the reasons why the 2 Western counties weren't included, coming in on the other vaccine by the other company, which I continually to mispronounce, that they are probably going to get that one first when that's distributed. But I think it's important for Washington County to support all the small counties, especially our neighbors to the west, with a friendly letter of support, as you suggested, to ensure that they receive timely receipt of those vaccinations. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
This is Corbin Schmidt. I would support that letter.
This is Terry. I support that letter 100%, and I want to thank Commissioner Kiefer for having the foresight to investigate that and bring it to the forefront. So I do support it.
All right. Well, other commissioners would support reviewing a draft before we send it out.
Sure,
Yes.
I'm good with it, Jeff. It's Randy.
Okay. All right. Court, you okay?
Yes. Yep. I definitely
Right,
support that letter.
All right. Mr. Downey, would you have staff propose a letter and get a draft out to us as soon as possible for us to review, and we'll get that out. Wayne, your next letter of support suggestion.
Yeah, my next letter of support, the town of Hancock had reached out to me, and my fellow commissioners and the public may have seen a report in the Herald Mail that the town of Hancock is seeking support for a new on-off ramp along Interstate 70 that would lead into a rather large potential business park. And the on-off ramp would create better access to this property rather than driving trucks through town. And it could help open up and develop that property for jobs. Jobs is what this is about. The town of Hancock has drafted a letter, and I think they're looking to their neighbors to the north, even in Pennsylvania, to the south in West Virginia, and to us as the county in which Hancock is in, to draft a letter of support for an on-off ramp. This is likely a long-term project. It won't be developed overnight, but this is some long-term foresight that I think is important, that we draft a letter of support. I shared with the commissioners. The town issued a resolution, and I think from the commissioners, maybe a letter might be more appropriate in keeping with what we do, just to draft a letter of support for the town of Hancock for an on-off ramp along Interstate 70 into their town. Would we support that as well?
Yeah. Wayne, could I add one more suggestion to that? Could the letter in support of the ramp also include the annexation of that property for their business park?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think the town is in the process of annexing that property. Yes.
So I would support a letter to that nature. Thank you. Anyone else?
I 100% support anything that's going to help grow business. I just want to make sure that we understand what the cost would be for the county, but we definitely support that. And I know it's a long-term project, but if we need to set something aside and look at our capital plans for this once we start getting some feasibility studies of that, but it's definitely something we should be supporting.
Yeah, letter to support wouldn't have to commit to any funding this time, but the idea and the vision would be what I'd want to express support of right now. Commissioners, any other comments?
I'd support that, Jeff. Randy Ward.
Okay, I think we got all the commissioners on board with that letter. I would
Yep. Terry supports.
Oh, I'm sorry, Terry, I forgot. Mr. Downey, would you then have staff draft a letter for the commissioners to review, and we'll get that out as soon as possible?
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
All right. Wayne, thank you for those two suggestions. Are there anything else in your comments?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Commissioner Marmo-Smith.
I've got nothing this time except for everybody to have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Commissioner Wagner.
Good morning. First and foremost, Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody, staff, employees, everybody that's listening has a wonderful holiday. Also want to wish that and pray that the road crews are going to be on the front line here starting tomorrow, sounds like, so they be safe and get through the next storm we have coming in. So I'm sure they're prepared well and keep the roads open. And just to remind everybody, and I think President Klein might say a word about this, is press conference today at 2:30 is going to sort of bring the public up to speed on vaccines and COVID. That's all I have, Jeff.
All right. Thank you. I do have a few things. First, County Administrator Mr. Downey, I think we're going to have announcement about some of the employees being leaving from work early the day before the holiday. I think we always do that. So we've already mentioned that for Christmas and New Year. So I just wanted to get that confirmed. Second, I do, since this is our last meeting of the year, do want to express my thanks to all of our employees for 2020 under the difficult situations. Little did we know a year ago that we'd be facing COVID-19 and all the complications. So again, my thanks to all the employees for their hard work and understanding of this difficult situation. Tomorrow we are expecting a major storm. So for all our highway guys and truck drivers out there plowing the snow, and everyone else, including all the emergency responders and our employees, thank you. Be careful out there. Again, I also want to remind everyone that we do have a press conference today at 2:30, and there will not be any more restrictions by the county government on our businesses. We're just going to give a brief update on the vaccine schedule and the statistics, and then still urge people to take all the necessary precautions. And Terry, one thing about out there Hopewell Road, there was I think a front page article about that project. So if people could look up the Herald Mail online and look for that project, there was a map there, but I do encourage or want to see a more detailed map of some of the things that you described that the citizens are looking for. So with that being said, that concludes my reports. I'd like to go to staff. Is there staff ready today for any comments? Krista?
Yes, President Klein, I have the matter of the upcoming Board of County Commissioners meeting scheduled for January 2021 to June 2021. I would like approval as submitted or comments.
I don't think you need a vote, but just our general approval. Is that
Just
what you're
the
looking
general,
for?
correct, just a consensus.
Commissioners, have you all had time to look at it? And we all know from weather to things is always subject to change, but that's our roadmap for our first 6 months.
Yeah, Jeff,
Terry's okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. Okay,
I'm
Thank
good with
you.
it.
that
Thank
sounds
you.
like 5. Krista, do you have anything else?
No, sir, that's all I have.
Okay. Is there any staff there waiting online to contribute?
Not that I've been made aware of.
Okay. Mr. Downey, do you have any comments?
I just want to say that given the fact that this is our last meeting of the year, I want to thank county staff for everything that they've done this year during the pandemic. I want to thank the commissioners for their support of county staff for navigating through the unique circumstances we found ourselves in. And I want to wish county commissioners, county staff, and county citizens a safe, happy, Merry Christmas and a New Year. I think we're all looking forward to 2021 and hope that it's very different from 2020.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Downey.
Can I say a word?
Who is
Yeah.
it?
Randy, can I say a word?
Oh, yeah, please do, Randy. Mhm.
Yeah, I guess that we never formally did thank Kirk for the job he's done this past year. I mean, come into a budget, come into COVID, and overseeing, and monitoring everything that went on. So Kirk, I do appreciate everything you've done this year. And now you can go back to, pretty soon, I guess you can go back to your real job instead of having to double task everything. But I do appreciate it. And I wanted to, let you know that I really do appreciate what you've done.
Well, thank you. I certainly appreciate it. It's been an honor to serve as interim county administrator. We've got great staff. I've gotten a lot of support from them. I want to thank the commissioners for their support and look forward to working with John and moving forward.
All right. Again, I echo those sentiments. Commissioners, before I go to our agenda items, anything else? Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go to our first item, Board of Elections recognition of county government. And I believe that's Barry Jackson. Do we have him?
President Klein, can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. And commissioners, good morning. Thank you all for giving us the time to talk about this. So the 2020 election was a challenging election, to say the least. The most challenging election we've ever had to administer. And, in the summertime, there was a lot of apprehension, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, because, we were still trying to figure out how we were going to safely and securely administer this election, getting everybody access to the ballot, but in a safe manner, with this pandemic going on. And so we had a lot of brainstorming sessions, a lot of strategy sessions, and it was obvious that there were going to be a lot more needs in this election than we've had in the past. And so there were times where we reached out to other county departments for their expertise. And we just wanted to take this time to really acknowledge all of the, contributions that were given by all of these different departments. And, I apologize in advance if we missed anybody. There were so many. And we listed it out in our agenda report form. And it was really in no particular order, just as we were thinking of them and jotting them down. But if you would just indulge me for a few minutes, I want to go ahead and run through some of these and acknowledge a lot of the people that helped us through this election. First and foremost was the engineering and construction departments. A little over a year ago from today, we didn't even know where our early voting site was going to be for the 2020 election. And the commissioners stepped up and purchased the old food line on Virginia Avenue for the election board, moving forward, including making that our new early voting center. And the engineering and construction departments, Scott Hobbs, Brendan Garrett, Rick Farley, Ernie and Terry, from that moment on, they worked tirelessly to get that room ready for early voting in 2020. And they worked with us almost on a daily basis, giving us updates and letting us know how things were going. And we appreciated them, putting that on the fast track and getting that ready. And then once we had a decision for how we were going to run the general election, there was a lot of information that we needed to get out to our voters and candidates alike. And so we reached out to the Public Relations and Marketing Department, Danielle and Brittany, Katie, and also Jonathan Bird. We sent them all of our important information that we needed to get out to the public. And they turned them into really professional and nice looking graphics and sent them back to us so that we could put them on our Facebook and Twitter pages and on our website. And they also sent those out in broadcast emails and included them in their marketing distributions that they sent out. And we really appreciated really the quick turnaround that they gave us whenever we sent anything to them. And they were always willing to help us out. The Sheriff's Department, always been a good friend of the election board and always helped us out whenever we needed security for early voting. And in this case, we actually had to send out our early voting equipment in advance of when early voting was starting. So it was going to be sitting in our early voting room for days, in a secured environment, obviously, but we still wanted to make sure that, it was remaining secure. And so the Sheriff's Department, around the clock, had someone in there keeping watch over the voting equipment to make sure that it was secured. And they continued to do that throughout early voting, staying overnight while we were away. And also, they also managed traffic out on Virginia Avenue during early voting, for the last few days, and also on election day. So we really appreciated all the help that the Sheriff's Department gave us for this election. The Human Resources and Budget and Finance, because of the pandemic that we were in the middle of, a lot of our election judges that worked for us in the past were not either able or willing to work. A lot of our election judges, of course, are elderly and at risk. And so many of them said that they just weren't willing to risk it. And so we lost a lot of our really good election judges because of the pandemic. And so we had to put out a call, to get more people to volunteer and to help. And again, it was a very scary time because we just weren't sure how we were going to man, our polling places without election judges. And so we did get a lot of folks volunteering, and we appreciated that very much. But we also needed to get them put on payroll so that we could get them paid. And Krista Shipley and Stephanie Baker really worked hard to make that happen. And I apologize, I put Krista Hart on the agenda report form. It is Krista Shipley. So we got too many Kristas working for the county. But they worked really hard to get all these people on payroll. Hundreds of new people that we added during the summer to get ready for the general election. So thanks to them. And then I believe it was Commissioner Meinl-Schmidt who had heard about a grant that was being offered by the Center for Civic Life and Technology to local boards of elections. So the money was going directly to local boards of elections in order to help administer elections in this pandemic. And so Commissioner Meinl-Schmidt let Kirk Downey know about it. And of course, he then forwarded that information to our director, Kay Busey. And of course, we've never really worked in grants before. We've never applied for one, so we didn't know the first thing about it. And so Kay had gotten a hold of Susan Buchanan, and Susan walked Kay right through the whole thing. And as a result, we got an over $90,000 award from the Center for Tech and Civic Life. So we were able to put that toward personal protective equipment, security, cleaning supplies, all the things that we ordinarily wouldn't have had to purchase, in a normal election. And so we really appreciated Commissioner Meinl-Schmidt and Kirk letting us know about that, and Susan Buchanan helping us out with that. And then Kirk had sent out an email to Kay during early voting just to ask if there's anything else that, we needed. And so, Kay thought, well, we really looks like we're going to need more law enforcement presence during early voting, as well as on election day. When we were seeing the crowds of people that were coming for early voting, and we suspected it was going to be just like that on election day. And so we had reached out to the Sheriff's Department and then also Hagerstown Police Department, as well as some of the municipal police departments, to provide security as well as traffic management on election day. And they all stepped up, and we appreciate Sheriff Mullendor as well as Hagerstown Police Chief Kiefer for stepping up there. The Highways Department was huge in this election. Doug Levine placed electronic signs for us in a number of places, alerting voters to where early voting was going to be. And then there was also an instance when we got started with early voting where people were starting to park, because there was only limited parking in our early voting center. And so people were starting to park in the AutoZone parking lot. And so the AutoZone management, had complained to us about it. And so Kay had reached out to Doug about that. And Doug said, okay, I'll put up a sign. So he put another electronic sign up in the AutoZone parking lot saying, hey, this is for AutoZone parking only, no election parking. So he did that the very same day that Kay had reached out to him about that. And so we appreciated that very much. Doug also met with me and the principal at North High the day before the general election, because that was a polling place that we were most concerned about, the crowds coming and making sure that our traffic management was working out properly. And so Doug came out and met with us about that and gave his expertise there as well, also provided cones for us there. And he also offered up his cell phone number to us to call him at any time if there was anything that we needed. So we really appreciated that. And then during early voting, again, we expected huge crowds, but how huge, we really weren't sure. And turns out that it was even bigger than we thought it would be. And so we actually had lines of voters outside the building and wrapped around in a snake line out in our parking lot on the side of the building. And that really wasn't something that we had planned for. And so when we're seeing these lines of people outside the building and we see cars driving up, and we're thinking, there's really nothing protecting these voters from these cars driving up here. And so I had sent an email to Andrew Eshelman, and I actually wrote this down. I sent it out at 7:38 on October 28th in the evening, and just asked if there's any way we could get concrete barriers. And he actually responded to me that evening, about an hour and a half later, that yes, they did have them, but they were out in the shop out west of Clear Spring. And if we wanted them, to let him know, and he would contact somebody to bring them out. So I did say yes, please. And then the very next morning at 6:30 in the morning, Zane Rowe and his team were out there on a flatbed and a loader with concrete barriers, and they put those out while people were standing in line there. So it was really impressive to watch. And it was a pouring rain that morning, if you guys remember. And they were out there dropping these concrete barriers, and that was just huge. I mean, the amount of time it took to get that done, I was so impressed that they got that done so quickly. And then also, while we were at early voting, the new bathrooms in the front were out of order. And so we contacted Danny Hicks and let him know about it. And he and Rick Farley went ahead and ordered porta pots for the voters who were outside, which was a huge help because they were in line sometimes for an hour and a half and close to 2 hours. And so it was nice to have that out there, as well as they cleaned out the back area of the warehouse at the early voting so that voters and election workers could get back to the back bathrooms, the older bathrooms that were out there. And they did that quickly and got it done. Our IT department was huge when the pandemic hit early in the year, and we were required to telework. A couple of our staff didn't have laptops to be able to telework. And so Dave Elliott and the IT department provided laptops for us, and that was huge for us. We appreciate that. And then, of course, Damian Reich and Doug Oliver were out at early voting at the new place installing network cables. And we were able to utilize those network cables at early voting to be able to connect all the poll books that were in the room. So that was a big help for us. And also, we had enlisted a call center leading up to the election to handle the huge call volume that we were getting. And so Damien was able to forward our main phone number in our office to that call center. So we appreciated that very much. Our GIS department did a lot for us during this election. Bon Poland had created an interactive app for the website. Once we figured out where vote centers were going to be and what those vote centers were, he created this interactive app so you could type in your address and it would show you where on the map where the nearest vote centers are. And that was really nice. So we put that on our website. He also updated our 100-foot no electioneering maps that shows the candidates where they can put their signs up during the election. And then also on Andrew Esselman's request, he had contacted Joe Rathbon about there was a wait time app for the pools during the summertime that he had created, and Andrew thought it would be a good idea to create that for the line management during election day. And so Joe quickly amended that to make it a wait time app for our lines at all of our vote centers. And that really worked well. We got a lot of good comments from voters about that. They really paid attention to that. We had that updated on our Facebook page and on our website, and a lot of people really paid attention to that. So that was a huge help for us. Kevin Cerrone from the Transportation Department, both during primary election and general election, he had offered up to us the use of advertising space on their county commuter buses, any ones that were available that didn't already have advertising on them. He was going to provide that to us at no charge to the election board, so we appreciate that very much. And then Heidi Arneo from Alternative Sanctions, she provided workers for us where we needed additional staff working in the warehouse to distribute supplies or bring them back from chief judges. And so that was a huge help for us. And then finally, the Board of Education, Mike Stauffer with the Board of Ed worked with us again in the summertime when we were trying to figure out where our vote centers were going to be. They needed to be large rooms. We were directed by the State Board of Elections that they should be in all the public high schools or an equivalent in the county. And so that's where we started. And Mike and his staff actually went around with us and we toured all of the schools and decided, where those vote center rooms were going to be. And so they worked with us as far as logistics, things that we needed. They were always there to help us out. So we really appreciate the Board of Ed helping us. And of course, we couldn't forget the 482 election judges who really answered the distress call that we put out when we were not sure how we were going to staff all of our vote centers. So again, this is like you had mentioned earlier, all of the county staff who've been out here working during this pandemic, when the governor's telling us that, we should be staying at home. That's what our election judges did. They said, what, I understand it's a risk, but this is important. This is an election and we've got to staff this. And so those folks answered the call and they were great. I mean, we got a lot of comments from voters, how efficiently it was run, how welcoming the election judges were, and how helpful they were. And so we really, really appreciate those folks, helping us out. And so again, we apologize if we forgot anybody. It was just so many people that helped us. And I just wanted to take a few minutes just to publicly acknowledge all of those folks and thank them so much. And I'll be glad to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Mr. Jackson, thank you for that in-depth report and all the kudos and acknowledgments for all the people involved. On behalf of the commissioners, I want to make sure we thank you and your staff and all those judges too. Definitely a team effort in Washington County shined during this period. So again, thank you for all those remarks. Commissioners, any other comments from Mr. You're welcome. Any comments for Mr. Jackson, commissioners?
Barry, this is Wayne. Just underscore what Commissioner Klein said. Thank you to you and your staff as well. I've been an election judge. I've served on your election board. It's not an easy job, and integrity is most important. And I'm very confident in our election process here in Washington County, and that's because largely you, your staff, and those election workers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. It was a smooth process when I was there. Kudos to you and everybody you named.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Appreciate everything.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, you're welcome. Next on our agenda will be the Washington County Agricultural Organization Facility Agreement. Director of Public Works, Mr. Eisman, will you introduce yourself in the matter, please?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. This is Andrew Eshelman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm here this morning to discuss the execution of the agreement for the Washington County Agricultural Organization to use the Washington County Agricultural Education Center to host the Ag Expo event for a 5-year period. The Washington County Agricultural Organization desires to enter into a 5-year agreement to use the Ag Center for a 2-week period during the summer months of each year for the agricultural event known as Ag Expo. The term of the agreement is 5 years, starting July 10th, 2021 and ending July 26th, 2025. The actual 2-week period, plus the setup and tear down for the annual use, will be determined and mutually agreed upon by the parties each year. We currently have a 5-year agreement. This contract is an extension of the rental fee from 2019 in the amount of $3,600 annually. Are there any questions?
Commissioners, any comments, questions?
Are you looking for a motion?
Yeah, motion
Yes.
to approve.
Motion to execute the agreement as presented.
Second.
Is there a first?
Yeah, it's Court Minor Schmidt. I'll make the motion to approve as presented.
Okay, Terry, was that a second? Commissioner Baker, was that a second?
Yes, I thought Wayne made the motion, but that's okay.
Okay, first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye by name. Aye, Jeff.
Aye, Court
Terry.
Minor Schmidt.
All righty.
Hi, Wayne.
That's 5 of, is that all 5? Thank you very much. It passes. Thank you, Mr. Eisherman.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, next up, I believe, Andrew, you're up next. Land and Water Conservation Fund. Please introduce yourself in the matter.
Again, this is Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works. Here seeking a motion to approve the submission of a grant application for the Land and Water Conservation Fund in the amount of $340,000 and to accept the awarded funding if successful in that application. The Land and Water Conservation Fund Act established a federally funded program to provide 50-50 matching grants to state and local governments for the purposes of acquiring and/or developing public outdoor recreational areas and facilities. This grant application would support the development of multi-use trails. That's for walking, hiking, and biking at Regional Park, which is there off of Mount Etna Road. When we did a capital planning survey in 2019, trails were the #1 requested need for additional amenities by nearly a 2-to-1 margin. The nearby Robinwood and Mount Etna Road corridor is largely residential, but lacks these types of pedestrian facilities. The project would construct approximately 2 miles of Class 4 stone surface trails and construct approximately a 50-space parking lot off of Landis Road. The trail network would be constructed on existing county-owned property between Regional Park, which is on Mount Etna Road, and Landis Road. The trail network would cross a variety of terrain and habitat and offer vistas of South Mountain, farmland, and the golf course. If successful, this capital grant funding would be used to supplement what we receive annually for program open space funds to reduce the project development phasing, construction timeline, and improve the quality of the trails. The Office of Grant Management has reviewed the application and the funding guidelines. There is a 50% match associated with the grant. And as I mentioned, the attempt here is to leverage the local funds that we have, recreational trail grant funds that I plan to submit for as well, and program open space funds to improve the quality of the project and the scope that we can do. So if we are successful in this application, it would provide $340,000 for the development of the trails. And as I mentioned, we're trying to leverage the other grant funding sources to come up with that match. Currently, we have $80,000 of local funds included in the CIP scheduled for FY '22.
All right, commissioners, thoughts or comments?
Andrew, just real quick, with this, so if it's a 50% match, it'd be $170,000 that we'd have to come up with. We have 80,000. Are you thinking the recreational trail grant funds and the program open space are gonna come up somewhere with that other $90,000?
It would actually be the 340,000 would be the 50% match. So the total project, if we would receive all those funds, would build a nice trail network. It would include the parking lot area. And so then between program open space funds, potential recreational trail funds, and local funds would make up that remaining 50% match. If we're unsuccessful in this grant application or recreational trails, then we're going to need to scale back the project in terms of probably the length of trails that we can construct, potentially the parking lot, and make a lower class trail, which may not, like I said, be as wide and have as many developed features.
Okay. Just wanted, thanks for that information. I'll make the motion to submit for the grant.
And to accept the funding as well, correct?
And to accept the funding.
All right, I have a first. Is there a
Wayne, I
second?
will second.
Thank you.
Wayne second.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye by name. Jeff, aye.
Court Schmidt, aye.
Aye.
Randy, aye.
Carrie,
Okay, is that everybody? All right, I think I heard five votes. Next on the agenda will be, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next on the agenda, Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchase. Brandy Noggle, would you please introduce yourself in the matter? Pardon me.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Brandy Noggle in the Purchasing Department. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. This morning, the recommendation I have for you is the Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchase INTG 20-0053 for one John Deere 5115M utility tracker for the Hagerstown Regional Airport. Move to authorize by resolution for the Hagerstown Regional Airport to purchase one John Deere 5115M utility tractor for a total cost of $138,073.28 from Smith Implements of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Also to utilize the Baltimore County Public Schools contract, which was awarded to John Deere out of Cary, North Carolina. The Hagerstown Regional Airport is requesting this purchase to replace a utility tractor they've had in place for 35 years. That tractor's life has exceeded the county's usage guidelines. The economic life for a utility tractor is 10 years. This tractor being replaced will be advertised on the GovDeals site and auctioned off. The Code of Public Law does allow Washington County to use another jurisdiction's contract. And by using this contract, the county will benefit with a direct cost savings by the economies of scale that this contract has leveraged. Budgets, this has been budgeted in the airport's capital improvement program. So I'm looking for approval on the purchase and to utilize the Baltimore County Public Schools contract.
Thank you, Commissioners. Any comments? Questions?
Yeah, this is Court Schmidt. On this 35-year-old tractor, I know it's old. Does it still work? Are we spending a ton of money in maintenance? Or are we just replacing because it's old?
Real quick, I want to see if Garrison's on the call. From what, just my understandings, the tractor still does work. They didn't get into detail on maintenance with me. I just know that it was in a need to be replaced for the airport.
Randy,
I couldn't say
that's in the
that.
budget, right?
What's that?
That's in their capital improvement. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, yes, it's been budgeted.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase and coincide with the Baltimore purchasing agreement, I guess.
Okay, I have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a first. Thank you. Is that Terry? Thank you. I have a first and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, this is Court. I'd still like to find out that information because two things I have is, one, if it's 35 years old and it's still working and it's not costing us a ton of money in maintenance, is that something that the airport could use instead of getting next to nothing for it on the gov deals? Having a backup that is working is not a bad idea. Or if it's still in good condition and it's just old, do we really need to purchase one? So.
I can absolutely get you that information, Court. I'll make sure you get it.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye by name. Jeff, aye.
Wayne, aye. Terry, aye.
Randy, I would like to keep it though if it is working.
All right, that's 4. Court?
This is, again, it's court management. I'm going to vote aye for the purchase of it, but I still want to find out about I don't want to sell it if it's a useful piece of equipment.
That was in your discussions. We'll make sure Garrison Randy get us that information.
Absolutely.
All right. That's 5 ayes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next up on the agenda, insurance renew for Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. Tracy McCammon, Risk Management Coordinator. Please introduce yourself and the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy McCammon, Risk Management Coordinator. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Is anyone else with you today?
Patrick Buck with CBIZ Insurance Services should also be on the line as well.
Thank you.
I'm here. Thank you.
All right, so we're here to renew the insurance for the Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association that begins January 1st of 2021 and goes through January 1st of 2022. The recommended motion is moved to renew the commercial property, auto, and casualty package with VFIS Insurance Company at the estimated premium of $343,930. The workers' compensation insurance with Chesapeake Employers Insurance Company at the estimated premium of $383,529, and also to renew the additional cyber liability with Hiscox Insurance Company at the estimated premium of $3,893. We had the insurance marketed in 2019 where VFIS and Chesapeake submitted the lowest proposals at that time. As such, the county and the association expressed their intentions to remain with these incumbent insurers as they have provided satisfactory coverage and services. Unfortunately, the insurance market is continuing to harden with no expectation of relief in the upcoming years. Different types of coverages are being The market is seeing consistent increases in renewal premiums along with tightening of underwriting guidelines and coverage offerings. So now would not be a good time to market the insurance package. However, the volunteer companies have worked very hard to keep their claim losses down, providing a decrease in some of the premiums. The physical impact is the total for all coverages is $731,352. Actual premiums that was paid this year in calendar year 2020 was $861,574. So you can see that there's a savings in premium of $130,222. So we're definitely well within budget. VFIS does require a down payment of $85,983 that's due on January 1st of 2021. The remaining balance will then be paid in 9 monthly installments. Chesapeake Employers Insurance also requires a down payment of $95,882 on January 1st, 2021. And again, those remaining balance will be paid in 9 monthly installments. Concurrences of Sarah Grease, CFO. The alternative would be to do a complete market bid, but then that would create a lapse in coverage. And there was a premium comparison attached so that you can look at the different premiums and the difference in which ones increased and which ones decreased. So with that, do you have any questions?
Commissioners, comments, questions?
This is Randy. I know 2 years ago, Dave did an analysis of all the equipment and saved a whole bunch of, because it was overinsured or maybe even underinsured.
Right, on the vehicles, that's correct.
I guess
And
I'm
we
wondering
we
if that,
continue to still do that, Commissioner Wagner.
oh, okay, great. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioners, any other comments?
This is Court Schmidt. I make the motion to approve as stated.
Hey, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Randy, second.
A first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Motion to approve.
Terry, yes.
Jeff, aye. Yes.
Court Schmidt, aye.
Randy, aye.
That's 4.
All right, this is
Anybody-
Wayne. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Wayne, we got you.
Okay, I was on mute and it wouldn't work unmuting. I'm sorry. I have a question. If I could ask the question.
Go ahead,
Yes.
since we're a
I know
little
it's
technical
past
problems
that
there.
point.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just wondering, with a monthly insurance premium of $85,000 and some change there, does this premium work maybe like a general auto or homeowners insurance premium where we paid up front, there would be any kind of savings versus stretching out over 9 periods?
I'll
No,
actually
not in this
refer
case.
that to Patrick.
Yeah, no, not with this particular coverage. In the commercial insurance market, there are very few that will give you any type of discount to pay up front in full, like you were saying with the home and auto policies.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
All right, Wayne.
Yep.
Okay, that's 5 yeses. Thank you. It passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You're welcome. Next on the agenda is the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Program. Chris Boggs. Please
Good morning,
introduce
Commissioners.
yourself. Good morning.
Every year, let's see here. Every year, Washington County has the opportunity to commit a certain portion of funding for our Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Program easements. And so the way that works is it is a 60-40 match. We call it the 60-40 match program. And basically what it does is the county commits 40% and Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation will commit 60%. This year, we are hoping to be able to, looking to commit $450,000. The state would match that with $675,000 for a total of $1.25 million that we would get extra in addition to the $800,000 that we assume the state has for its general allotment. So basically the way it works is the state has its general allotment and its match allotment, and it has a portion for each side. So each county that's certified and that is in the program gets split up. So the first half is divided equally among all the counties, and the second half is set aside for the 60-40 match. Obviously, the more money we put toward the 60-40 match, the more funding we'll get for easements. This is especially important this year because our #1 ranked easement for this application cycle is so large that it's going to eat up a large portion of funding. And the more we can put into the match, the more opportunity we'll have to get a second or third easement through the program. So total funding we're looking at is around $1.925 million, or maybe even closer to $2 million for easement purchases for this FY21 cycle. It's basically, every year we do this, and again, the more we can put in, the more we'll get back. It's essentially free funding. We'll be separating this allotment from 3 different accounts that are specifically for land preservation purposes: the county's ag transfer tax, the county's portion of the state ag transfer tax, and the county's real estate transfer tax will go toward this $450,000 allotment. If we don't do the 60-40 match, we'll kind of be stuck at that $800,000 to $900,000, and that's all we'll get for easements. Obviously you have the opportunity to turn it down if you like. Other than that, the Ag Board, of course, endorses the use of these sources of funding, and we have the funding available. So the recommended motion would be to approve the $450,000 commitment for the FY21 cycle. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, easy one. Year to date, how many acres of land have we already preserved?
34,700. That's across the board with all our programs. This program in particular has 13,733 acres of preserved land. And right now we're in the process of settling a couple more of these easements. They're almost done. So we'll be tacking onto that here within the next month or so.
That's good news. Commissioners, comments, questions, or a motion?
Real quick question. Since the agriculture transfer tax is collected each year, restricted for the use of this, how much of that do we get every year?
Oh, well, it depends. Some years, especially, you look 5 to 7 years back, it was very minimal. We'd end up with, $20,000 or $30,000, in the account. But recently, I guess, because there's such a small amount of real estate, available out there right now. I mean, you've seen how the market has been. It looks like there's a little more land transferring from rural to developed, and so we do have a little more this year than we normally do. If I look back through my emails here, I think, let me see here. Shoot, it's going to be hard to dig back through and find that, but I think we had around 100,000 or so in the county's the state's ag transfer tax portion. We only took 50,000 of that for this commitment. The greater portions came from the real estate transfer tax, and the portion that's pegged for land preservation, and the county's portion of the ag transfer tax, which was a much larger. So the state ag transfer tax was a smaller amount in the fund, and then we took about half of the county's ag transfer tax that we had in the account. Now, that I like to keep a good buffer in there when I'm working, just in case.
The only reason why I'm asking this, since it's a 60-40 match, I want to make sure we're getting the biggest bang for our buck instead of keeping money aside that we're not getting a match for. So, well,
that's the thing. The reason, and I'll have the ability to do this again next year and the year after and so on. The one thing that I like to keep a little money in there is sometimes we don't have, for instance, say the county or say the state makes an offer on one of these easements that is insufficient, and we don't have anyone that's willing to take it. Sometimes what we'll do then is take money from that ag transfer tax account and make a side agreement with the landowner to say, look, well, we'll make up some of the shortfall with this funding in order to make sure we preserve the land. So like I said, that's why I like to keep a buffer in some of these accounts for anything like this that might pop up.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank
All right,
you.
Commissioners, any other questions? If not, a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the $450,000 commitment.
Is there a second?
This is Wayne. I'll second.
Okay, I have first and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes or aye by name. Jeff,
Aye. Lionel Schmidt.
Aye, Wayne.
Yeah. Aye, Terry.
That's 4. That's 5. All right, Mr. Boggs, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda, adopt the text amendment to solid waste management and recycling. Mr. Downey, I believe that's you.
Yeah, I've got that. Good morning again. You may recall that a couple of weeks ago, we had a public hearing on proposed text amendments to solid waste recycling plan. Basically, the proposed amendments are to require recycling plan for large offices, large office complexes. That's those that are greater than 150,000 square feet in area. The reason we are considering this proposed amendment is because state law requires counties and local jurisdictions to update their plan to include some type of recycling legislation for these types of office complexes. There was consensus to approve the plan. We have prepared the formal resolution, which will incorporate the adoption of those text amendments into the solid waste management and recycling plan. And it would be appropriate for the commissioners to adopt the resolution and implement those text amendments at this time.
All right, commissioners, comments, questions? If not, would entertain a motion.
This is Court Schmidt. I move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second?
Randy, second.
A first and a second to adopt. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye by name. Aye, Jeff.
Aye, Court Schmidt.
Aye, Randy.
Okay. Anybody else? Is that all five? Okay, all five. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next on the agenda, rural broadband grant applications. Josh O'Neill, Susan Buchanan. Please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning. This is Susan Buchanan, Director of Grant Management. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right. This morning we are here requesting, sorry, let me introduce the rest of the co-presenters. Also with me today is Josh O'Neill, Director, Division of Information Systems. And from Antietam Broadband, I have Curtis Pendleton and Ed Brinkley on the line. We're here this morning requesting a motion to approve the submission of a grant application to the FY21 expansion of existing broadband network funding program, requesting up to $200,000 to allow Antietam Broadband to extend service to citizens living on Ketzel Road and to accept funding as awarded, contingent upon the execution of an agreement between the county and Antietam Broadband. In response to requests from residents living in the area of Ketzel Road, Antietam Broadband is seeking to partner with Washington County on a grant application submission to the FY21 expanding existing broadband network program. As stated, requesting up to $200,000 to assist with the cost of extending the broadband service to that area. The grant is offered by the Governor's Office of Rural Broadband and requires ISPs to partner with a county or municipality to submit the grant application. The grant will pay for capital costs associated with the expansion, and applicants must provide at least 50% of the funding for the project. Antietam Broadband will be providing the matching funds for the project and will be the owner of the improvements. Antietam Broadband's match is contingent upon a contribution from residents served. If the contribution is not sufficient, the grant award will not be accepted. If the grant application is successful and prior to award of any funds, the county will enter into an agreement with Antietam Broadband outlining the roles and responsibilities of the partnership on the grant-funded project. And the county will also enter into an MOU with the Governor's Office for Rural Broadband. There would be no fiscal impact directly to the county. The awarded funds would be transferred to Antietam Broadband. Do we have any questions about the project?
Just Randy, so just to clear my mind up. So Antietam would offer, with the grant, would offer to the residents and citizens on Ketzel. Do we have any idea, and this is probably a question nobody can, maybe you can, any idea of, like, they have to, the people receiving this service will have to put some money to it too. Are we talking like $500 or 10,000?
I will defer that question to either Curtis Pendleton or Ed Brinkley. I think they're on the line. I know that they're the ones that have been working on that end of it at Antietam. Give them a moment to unmute. I do know, I'm waiting to see if maybe they're having some technical issues. I know that was a discussion that they've been having ongoing to see if there would be contributions from the residents that would meet their business model to allow them to extend that service. And part of the, oh, they're there.
I'm sorry, Susan. I'm sorry, Susan. This is Kurt Pendleton. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can.
Oh, thank you. I apologize. I was trying to work the unmute button. Commissioner, I think your question was, what are we looking at as the contribution? We're looking at right around $900 there are 25 families out in that area. We started working with one of the members out on Ketzel Road, and they had identified 12. We were able to look at another 13 that improved the model for both, we think, for the rural broadband funding and to be able to connect all the families out there. And we're working with one of those neighbors right now, and he's working through the community for those 25.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any other questions?
I'd make a motion to support the grant application.
Is there a second?
It's Court Schmidt. I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Is there any other questions?
This is Wayne Kiefer. Can you hear me? I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Just maybe for Kirk or as our legal counsel, or maybe Mr. Pendleton from Antietam Broadband. From time to time, I get questions from citizens about the county choosing and naming an official internet service provider. It was just for clarification for anyone who may be listening. We don't have any authority. We don't have any resolution in naming an official internet service provider in Washington County. This is between Antietam Cable and the state of Maryland, correct?
Yes, the state funding, what it requires is that the counties or a government entity move forward with an ISP. But you're not, selecting Antietam. It's a non-exclusive type situation. In this case, we're the provider that it's committing to build out. We have a substantial investment, nearly half of the project, and it just unfortunately it exceeds our normal build out returns. And this is an opportunity that the state's making available to not only us as a provider or to our county, Washington County, but throughout the state.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, we're not choosing one provider over another. You just happen to be in the best position to go for this particular grant based on your existing infrastructure.
That's
correct. That's correct.
Very good comment.
We don't have a franchise agreement with any cable provider or internet.
Okay. I believe I have a
thank you.
first and a second to approve the submission of the grant application. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye by name. Jeff, aye.
Randy,
aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Terry, aye.
That was 5. Thank you very much, Mr. Pendleton.
Thank you.
Susan, thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays all.
Okay, next up, Senator Moss funding allocation. Dave Hayes, please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning, President Klein. Can you hear me?
Morning. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Okay, so David Hayes, Director of Emergency Services. We're here today to present and recommend a motion for the Senator Amos funding allocation. The motion would be to move to accept the recommendation of the Director of Emergency Services, authorizing the Division of Emergency Service to make notification of the grant award from the FY 2021 Senator William H. Amos Fire Rescue and Ambulance Fund subsidy, as outlined in the attached document. The total fiscal year 2021 funding received by the county is $344,909.00. The state of Maryland distributes an annual payment to each county for support of local fire and rescue operations. The county, in turn, makes notifications of the funding to the eligible volunteer fire and rescue corporations. Financial accountability and reporting are handled within the Division of Emergency Services and the Division of Budget and Finance, with the county filing a financial report with the state on an annual basis. The Senator William H. Annis Fire Rescue and Ambulance Fund is authorized within the Public Safety article of the Annotated Code of Maryland. The Maryland Emergency Management Agency is responsible for the program. Fiscal impact would be any loss of this funding will result in the reduction of capital equipment funding and expenditures that are available to the independent fire and EMS companies. We have concurrences from myself as director and the director of the Office of Budget and Finance. There are no alternatives. And just to give you a real quick summary of how that breakdown would go, each of the volunteer fire and rescue companies outside of the city of Hagerstown gets $1,265.75. And then the city of Hagerstown Fire Department gets the 6 allocations to the volunteer companies inside the city. And that total distribution to the city of Hagerstown would be $79,594.00.
Hey, Dave, this is Randy. Is there any fire or EMS missing on this sheet that county?
I could hardly hear that, Randy. Try it one more time.
Is there any fire or EMS missing on this list that's in our county?
I do not believe so. This list was produced by Budget and Finance.
Well, you said the people who qualified. Maybe I'm missing it, but anyway.
You said something about qualified, but I couldn't hear that.
Didn't you say that the companies that qualify? I'm just curious. Did we leave somebody off the list? That's all. That's the only question I had.
No, there was nobody left off the list.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the recommendations.
This is Wayne. I move to approve the funding for the Senator Amos grant.
Is there a second?
And I'll second it.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye by name.
Terry, aye.
Jeff,
Schmidt, aye.
That's
Brady, aye.
4 and 5. Thank you, Director Hayes.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, welcome back, Director Hayes. 2019 EMPG spending requests.
Okay, Commissioner, again, David Hayes, Director of Emergency Services, and we're here, as President Klein stated, to request the extension of the 2019 EMPG funds that are allocated to the Division of Emergency Services. We're asking for a motion to authorize the purchase of 6 Motorola 8500 dual band mobile radios at a cost of $7,100 each, 4 Harris dual band portable radios at a cost of $4,300 each, and 4 spare Harris portable radio batteries and 4 Harris radio vehicle chargers at a cost of $129.50. The total for this motion is $60,672. And planning for the projects that are allowable in the EMPG funding category, radio communications and interoperability is considered one of the primary uses that is authorized under this funding opportunity. The purchase of these new radio assets will further enhance the ability of Washington County to communicate with other local and state resources. These radios will provide for a technology upgrade of the radio systems, the county's mobile command center with the MCC1. MCC1 provides vital support to the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Hagerstown City Police, the Hagerstown Fire Department, the Office of Emergency Management, and the Division of Emergency Services. Oftentimes, agencies find the need to have complex on-site communications and information technologies. MCC1 is the primary county asset that provides these services throughout the system. The purchase will be made utilizing existing county contracts for mobile and portable assets. The fiscal impact, which is grant funded, is $60,672. And just for a point of reference, the total available in that grant project is $60,800, which leaves an unspent total of $128.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? Motion to authorize the purchase?
Motion
Court
to
Minor
approve.
Schmidt, I make the motion as stated.
Or second?
Second.
Have first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye by name. Jeff, aye.
Court Minor Schmidt, aye.
Wayne, aye.
Randy, aye.
Terry, aye.
Okay, that's 5. Thank you, Director Hayes. I close
Thank you.
our open session. I need a motion to go into closed session for reasons stated.
Court Minor Schmidt, I make the motion to go to closed session.
Second.
There's second. All right, first and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye, Court Minor Schmidt.
Aye, Wayne.
Aye, Terry.
All right, thank you, everyone. Talk to you in closed session.